Important to be able, in your mind, to have these shots ready and know your angles right away versus figuring it out once it comes on the table, because then you're usually running out of time. So you guys have Brasso in front of you. Feel free to kind of follow along or try things out, try some of the tips that we have in terms of how you can kind of play it, how you can do a review, and all those things. So obviously we have lights. Not every situation have lights, but if you're interested in lights, right now we're using aperture lights. We have a key light. We have a light to kind of mimic the yellow light that you have on top of you. We have a highlight light that's basically motivated by the window because the window is not giving us enough sunlight. So we have extra light there to, well, the day has changed. So now we have enough window light coming in. And we have a backlight separating the main subject, which is in front here, from the wall in the back as well. The most important thing when shooting food is to already have a shot list in your head. Don't figure things out while you're there, because you're going to end up being very unhappy with your video at the end. So it's really important to know, okay, this is the type of dish that I'm going to be ordering, this is what it looks like, these are all the different shots that I need to take with it. So that's what we're going to show you today.
Switch.
You can switch.
Let's
You
get
can switch, okay.
So I'll hold the camera for this session. Okay.
So you'll be able to follow along here. If you're shooting in that setting there, we kind of saw that the best would be, if you're using cameras, probably either auto ISO or ISO 500. If you're shooting in 30 FPS, obviously your shutter speed should be 60. Aperture, bring it as low as you can, whether that's 2.8 or 4. You have pocket lights with you on your table also that you can kind of use to bump and highlight as you need to. So there's two settings in any shoot. It's either you're shooting alone or you're shooting with a friend. If you're shooting alone, sometimes it's best, specifically for social media and vertical video. Always remember where people are watching your video. Most of the time in the Philippines, they're watching it on their phone, right? So the reason why people use tripods and non-moving static shots is not it's not magic why it makes more sense in your head. It's because if I'm holding a phone and I'm watching your video, my hand's kind of moving, and if your frame's moving too, it's just too much contrast, doesn't work. It's very cool. If you're prioritizing horizontal, then it's okay to kind of have more cinematic movements and move a little bit, just because people are usually watching those things in a more static environment. So always think about what your audience and where they're watching the video. One of the most important things when it comes to shooting food content is to think of your sequences in 3 shots. So every action that you have has 3 different shots, so that you have options to kind of cut into and transition to when you're doing these things. So if this was a cooking video or a review video in a restaurant, the first thing you'd want to do is shoot context. So here we're in a restaurant called Barbara's. You would try to find portraits, you would try to find elements that really build the story of this beautiful heritage house that was renovated, it's been here for like 30 plus years. So you want to showcase that heritage through shots. So that's getting a wide shot outside, getting a shot of yourself entering with a tripod, and then maybe getting elements here and there. There's some cool shots that you can do with the mirrors and stuff like that, and kind of getting those very artsy shots and stuff like that.
Wow.
Then the food. So really important, the first shot, Abby, we're going to do is vertical and then placing it down. The camera's not going to move, but I will move. Everything's always centered, as you can see. A bit of texture here, which is great, and then this is mainly centered. When you're shooting vertical, the subject should always be in the center of the frame, whereas if you're shooting horizontal, it can be at the bottom of the frame or lower thirds. So the first shot is static, and then the food comes down.
Oh, wait, sorry.
So you start with movement. When you watch any video on social media, they always start with movement just because it grabs a bit more attention. So that we have it coming down. The next thing we're going to do is, obviously, we're going to slice it. So a couple of options here. If you can show a really bad shot, that is like a top shot. This makes 0 sense. It looks, I don't want to say what it looks like. It looks really flat and kind of like flappy. It's really not going to work. So always think about what the subject is. So now Abby's going to go down. She's going to have this line run through diagonally in the video. So now your subject's really taking most of the frame of the video. You have texture in here, And then we have texture in the back with kind of the windows and the lights coming in and the shadow. If I move my knife properly, I also get some shine and stuff like that. So just it builds the story a little bit more about what we're doing. If you're working with a cameraman, then you kind of set focus first. And I'll be like, okay, Abby, I'll be here. So she's going to focus on my knife. The knife is going to come out, and then it's going to come back in exactly where I put it. And this is where I'm going to slice. So a nice thick slice. So now that we're here, you can use this exact one. Abby's now a little tighter. And then you're going to do a nice little lift as it comes out. Kind of pause, showcase that. Then Abby's going to go a bit more mid, like a medium shot. So there's a bit more texture here, there's a bit more hands involved, so that you know there's more movement that comes out, boom, in the center of the frame. So that's your kind of first sequence. Then we're going to set the scene. So you can have this in the back. So right now there's some really cool backlight coming in from the window, which we didn't have before, so we'll use that. So can you focus here, please? I mean, it's overblown there because of the TV, don't worry. Then we're going to add maybe a little bit of texture in front, and then in the back as well.
It's very harsh.
So again, think diagonally, always. Think shadows. Anything that looks too bright doesn't look organic enough, so think to use the shadows and use the lights that are around you. I'll just move this here. And just focus here. There, that's good. And then static. So now I see a little bit of the cake behind me. I see some of the flowers for just some artistic direction. And then we're going to go and put in the cake. So now that looks really good. When you're here, it can be static, or Abby can do an orbit also, by moving around a little bit, keeping the subject kind of center frame. If you have, for example, this is a situation where if you had a styrofoam or something, you can use it to kind of bump the light onto the subject. I'll do it here with the aperture. So it doesn't look great, right? Too bright. So maybe try to find a little bit of shadow, highlight a bit of the plate. You can highlight a bit of the food as well. Kind of always just move the light around and figure out what's the best for you. So for this, for example, now we've bossed the window, but everyone knows we're in a situation where there is a window, so kind of just you can fake that window by having it come here. They don't know where you're shooting it from, so you can kind of fake that window on the side as well. Just really showcasing the highlight of what's happening there. So once you've gotten your beauty shots, really important to do the consumption. So what we'll do here is first, if you want to do a spiel, you can do a spiel. So the first shot you'll have is you talking over the finished product without it being finished. So you can kind of crouch down. You're here, closer. So this is kind of like your typical mid shot. So you'll deliver your spiel and then take a bite. So you deliver the spiel, take a bite. Before doing it, you cut, and then Abby's going to come closer. You use your body too. And now you have a tight shot of this coming up. A shot of this in the middle, kind of showcase the texture. And then now Abby's going to go back again. This time I'm going to use the autofocus of the camera. So this really works usually when you have really wide lens. If you can actually get down to like 10, 12 millimeter, it's the best. But here we have a 16-35, so 16 kind of works as well. Here, and then if I move this, it focuses on my face, which is fine. So you'll go from showing the texture of the bite, then when you get it to your face, ideally it's in focus, and then you can go ahead and bite. So everything we showed is really showcases how shot listing is so important. So whatever the story is, whatever the dish is, whatever the recipe is, it's really important to have that shot list in mind already. And obviously always leave room for kind of spontaneity and for mistakes and stuff. But to have that structure as you approach a video is super key in telling a story in a visual way.
Yeah, and another thing about shooting with food is it actually it depends on the type of dish that you're filming. So, for example, imagine we're shooting a burger. You want to show the layers of the burger, so you want to shoot something eye level to it, and not top shot overlay BuzzFeed style, because that would only show the bun. So, for example, this dish natin specifically, this cake, the prettiest angle would be the cross section. So yun doon tayo nag-focus. But then again, it really depends on the subject. So for example, let's do this. You be the videographer. So for example, this one, if I would do a video about this, I would tell the story of how interesting it is visually, and parang it's a dome of sugar na kapag sinuntok mo or you tap it, it's gonna crack. So instead of doing something super close up, I want to tell the story of how it cracks. So I'd want to take a wide shot, right, to show the shape and how it will break down. So let's try to do it. By the way, guys, first time gagamitin itong subject natin for the day. So, and you can also hear the crisp of the sugar that's breaking. And I also want to emphasize or let you guys know how important audio is part of the video. And thankfully, our Sony cameras come with very good microphones. Wow, that's so nice. Let's play it here. Yeah. Yeah. So, my treatment specifically, because I do food social media, it's a combination of visual shots that are very dynamic, meaning there's always something moving in the frame. It's either the camera moves, so doing a pan or doing an orbit, or there's something going on with the dish. So, someone interacting with the dish, or, well, literally the dish moving, like a chocolate fountain or something like that. So, this type of video we're doing is food shots, usually for a food review. But for preparation videos, like cooking videos, the important thing is, if you're shooting by yourself, alam mo na yung process, like alam mo na kung ano yung step or action na i-highlight. But if you're working with a videographer or camera op and different person yung nagluluto, it's important to communicate, okay, ano ba yung next step na gagawin mo? Magdidrizzle ako ng chocolate syrup dito sa cake. So let's do that for example. So, Erwan?
Yes, so what we're going to focus on, I just want to show you guys a cool thing, if you put it there. If I move around the camera, I can get kind of glimpses of the light coming on the plate, and that kind of just makes it feel more organic. So now for the chocolate sauce, there's a few ways to do this, but again, think of a 3-shot sequence. So the first one is showing the texture of the chocolate sauce that Abby has, like that. You can also go from the bottom here,
Light peeking through.
there, and then so that people understand where the chocolate's coming from. And then she's gonna drizzle it. I'm gonna focus on her spoon first, and I'm gonna have it come down. And then when she goes down, I'll go down with it. I can punch in a bit more too if I want more of that, but I can also keep following. Give it that light flood. There. So it just sells the context, it sells the story of the food more versus just kind of popping the chocolate up. Hey, I hope you guys are hungry. There's a lot of brasso to eat.
And actually, to medyo tip ko for food creators, it's to make sure that people know what's in the frame. So sometimes, especially when the food is really elevated, it looks really nicely visually, but if people don't understand what it is, it's really hard makuha yung pagkatakam or the mouth-watering effect. So, play around with the food, think of ways you can interact with it, and find ano ba yung angulo niya para tao. Ano ba yung angle mo? May angle ka ba? What's the prettiest part? Yes. Yeah.
And always use what's available, right? So unless you have a beautiful table with like a glorious like old school grain on it or anything like that, a lot of time you kind of have to fill up that shot. So fill it up with things that make sense, right? If I'm gonna do this, I'm not gonna put a cucumber behind random, right? But you can put a pack of cream, you can put a slice of cake, you can put a piece of chocolate because we had some chocolate there. So always think about the context of the food. And that applies to everything else, right? Fashion, food, architecture. Building that context is your starting point from the story, and then you, as the story goes, you get deeper and deeper, tighter and tighter into the main point of the video, and then you can kind of pull out with your own opinion of it.
Yeah. So, do we have any questions from the audience? Yes? Any of you doing food content? Do we have food content creators out here? Wala? Lahat kayo fashion. Joke lang. But even though you're not doing food content full-time or as a career, everyone takes a photo of their pretty dish when we're served that in the restaurant, yes? So, same thing. You can apply all the theories we discussed here today. Yes, questions? Do you have? Yes? No? No eye contact daw kasi baka matawa. Yes. Do you have questions from this table?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thumbnail or cover photo advice?
Sorry?
Thumbnail or cover photo advice or food?
Take the picture.
No.
Take the picture.
Sorry,
I highly rely on screenshots, and I'm so stupid to do it. But if you're a video creator, shoot the video, but take the damn picture. And think about it. Instagram, not as important, I would say.
TikTok.
Instagram is algorithm based, but YouTube, it's an actual selection to watch a video, whereas Instagram kind of pushes content towards you. So I would definitely say just try to be as organized as possible and take that picture. TikTok, I'm not sure.
TikTok doesn't matter. So depende sa platform. On YouTube, especially for long form videos, para panoorin ka ng tao, kailangan niya i-click yung video mo. So you have to sell the video through the thumbnail and the title. But on TikTok, on Reels, on YouTube Shorts, it's just this. So nobody gives a shit about the thumbnail. They care about the first 3 seconds, 4 seconds of the video. And yeah, that's it. Okay.
Questions?
Cool, yeah. Yes.
We're looking at specific questions.
Nagtaso siya kami kasi paabot daw ng braso. Yeah. Sorry, do you have any other questions? For food content or content in general? Yes.
Hi, I'm just curious, what's the most challenging issue you've had so far with shooting food?
Losing the files?
Losing the files. That was specifically for food.
For food specifically. Losing the files.
Losing the food.
Lack of access. So food is very kind of just, especially if you're doing food reviews, so I can go on a tangent a bit. We did a couple of food shows in Japan, and it was impossible to get access to the kitchens because people are very strict there, whereas when we shoot in the Philippines, we usually get access to the kitchens, we can kind of have the shots we want and it getting plated and stuff. But in Japan, there wasn't that. So it was important to build and paint the story with just a very kind of plain shot of the food. And so it was really important to try to contextualize the videos with other dishes that are available, but also kind of just making sure we get the right interaction shots and all that. So I think that would be the most challenging thing, is you don't always have access to the full prep and the full story. So usually it's, you make up for it in food shots, or you make up for it with interviews. So if you can't have access to the kitchen, can you talk to the owner? If the owner doesn't want to talk to you, can you talk to a diner? If the diner doesn't want to talk to you, just go home and sleep. But you can always find something to talk about.
Ako, two things. Number one is, wait, nakalimutan ko. Wait, space out ako. Number one is, food, it's time sensitive. For example, shooting ice cream. If you don't hurry up, it's gonna melt. And it's not gonna look as good as it was nung pinlay siya in front of you. So there's some urgency that comes with it. And kunyari food review, right? Order ako ng isang dome nito. Tapos hindi ko na, oh, pangit ng first shot ko. Eh, yun na yung shot na yun. It's like shooting a bride coming into that church. Parang, unless umorder ako ulit, diba? So it's difficult. So, number 2 would be, may mga food talaga na hindi sila photogenic. So, recently, I had a collaboration with Nor. Pinagluto nila ako. Sabi nila, please make us a viral video ng munggo, ginisang munggo. Green, mushy, walang tunog. How do I make this engaging? Nalagyan ko chicharon. Nalagyan ko ng chicharon. What do you do when there's a food you wanna cover the story about that food, pero hindi siya at all engaging in any sense? Story, yeah. So I started the video saying, did you know we eat this every Friday? So kahit labsak yung whatever you're shooting, if you can hook people with the story, then that will work. So it worked. Yeah, now we have a viral manga video.
I think it really comes down to the pre-production. So even if you're doing a home video, like for example, I do a lot of travel videos and personal for my family that I don't post online. But when I do those travel videos, I have a shot list in mind already because I want to be present and I want to hang out with my kid and my wife. So I don't want to have my camera out all the time. So I know exactly what shots I want for my travel video. So I apply that same thing. So like that I got triggered by a comment a few years ago. They're like, oh, Erwan's just shooting the whole time when he's with his family. It's not true. I shoot literally 5 minutes a day. It's just I know what shots I want. So having that notion of what you want, your intent with the video and what you want to portray is really important. And through story, you can always make things different. So for example, a brand, I'm not going to name them, asked me to do a Pinoy spaghetti video. And I personally was like, again? Like, cause, there's just so many videos about Pinoy spaghetti. So I was like, all right. So I was like, this is a requirement. How do I figure this out to make sense for me and also for my audience? And the video ended up being like a full expose as to why Filipinos eat spaghetti in the beginning and kind of like the cultural appropriation that happened and all that. So it was a really interesting video. It's gonna come out soon. And so yeah, you can always figure something out with the angle, with the story, with the treatment, right? So everything you're seeing here at the end of the day is a visual cue to whatever the story you want to tell is.
That's it. Yeah. Okay, that's it. Yes.
We'll take a group picture. If everyone can stand up, please.
That's it for the discussion. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for listening. Hope. Take a